Today I'm going to be reacting to every BOA regional event from last weekend, giving my breakdown on scores, placements, and I even will be doing some show deep dives. But without further ado, let's get into it. For BOA St. Louis, let's just get into the elephant in the room. Bentonville gets second place here in finals. I was shocked. Even after watching the shows, I was like, "Ooh, Bentonville is better than I expected." I still thought that better than I expected would have placed them maybe above M&G, but I still thought they would be like maybe half a point behind. Not even half a point. I thought they would be like a full point behind the Broken Arrow Blue Springs pack, but no. They fully jumped Blue Springs, which I kind of understand. Blue Springs didn't really do their whole show. Bentonville did a lot more. But I don't know. And even the scoring is kind of reflecting what my thoughts are here. Because in prelims, first place, Broken Arrow, with an 89.25. Second place, Blue Springs, 89.20. Very close score in prelims. And Blue Springs won visual and general effect for the competition. So this was not a blowout. This is why, in my heart, I'm kind of like, Blue Springs is going to be okay. They're going to recover from this, and they're going to place very well at future competitions. And that's not to take away from Bentonville at all. Their show was great. M&G comes in at fourth. I didn't do my predictions for this week, but if I did do my predictions, it would have been Broken Arrow 1, Blue Springs 2, Bentonville probably 3, and then M&G. Other notable things scoring-wise are how well Blue Springs South and Edmond Santa Fe did. They really exceeded my expectations. I thought Jenks, Bixby, and, maybe even like Rosemount, I thought all of them would be way ahead of them scoring wise. I thought it would be Owasso, Bixby, Rosemount, Jenks, and then a drop off in scores and then them. But no, they were the drop off. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I got to say. Let's get into the show breakdowns. Okay, so you may notice that I'm in different clothes now, and the lighting's changed. And that's because this is from a separate day. I'm here to tell you this is a re-upload, because the first copy of this video was removed for copyright infringement. That is right, Box 5 decided to copyright strike that video, but not only that video, but several others, including compilations, YouTube shorts, private videos that I've taken down and have no effect on the public or distributing Box 5 media. Doesn't matter. It has all been taken down with what I can only assume as the goal to make me not make these videos anymore. And if you're wondering what I did to get a copyright strike, well, I played audioless footage with different latency and zoomed in on separate forms when I was talking about visual moments in shows. Now, I know you may be thinking, well, you said you didn't have audio on it, and you said you were talking over it, and your face cam was present almost all of the clip. Doesn't that fall under fair use? Well, yes. Here's the copyright law under Section 107 for fair use for purpose such as criticism, comment/commentary, news reporting, teaching, and research. Now, I don't know about you, but doing a commentary video about how a band looks on the field and then not using the audio, which is like the main part of the fucking broadcast, sounds like it qualifies for fair use. But even then, I've still taken down the videos, and I will not be disputing this. They have me on 2 copyright strikes, which means one more will delete my entire channel. I will never be able to post again. So, I am going to be playing it safe, and I'm not going to be showing anything. Even though it would be legal if I did. We can talk about the head of Box 5 Media, Tim Snyder, who has assaulted his colleagues before. He has also bragged on Facebook about threatening underage children, and Box 5 themselves have denied refunds before when they have messed up live streams. For example, BOA Grand Nationals 2022. They have not refunded people for that event. Instead, they decided to rebroadcast the event. All alleged, of course. Now, we're not going to be talking about that in this video. I'm going to kind of consider what I can do going into the future. Clearly, they want to get me. From the emails, they went back 5 years ago to get me on compilation videos just to make sure they got an extra strike in there. And from the email, it looks like they tried to get 3 strikes, but they only got 2, which, lucky for me, lucky break, right? Because my channel wouldn't exist. So I'm just going to take that as a nice little lucky break, and we'll move on from here. Anyway, back to the video. For Broken Arrow, this is such a, Broken Arrow show. Really visually appealing, classic, high school marching band style. And when I say that, that's not really insulting. It's just not too modern. Something that is different between old Broken Arrow shows and this one is that there's no build up to the hit. They go straight into it and they do their opener hit right away. That's something that is completely different from what they did last year, 23, 22, 21. They almost never start with the hit. I think the last time I could remember them starting with the hit was... I don't think I ever can remember, because the Stars and Stripes show, they didn't. I really loved the spacing in this show. I feel like this show is visually as clean as any other show is this year. I would like to see them maybe try some things more ambitious. Also, I really thought the tuba moment gave me huge vibes to that saxophone moment last year. Although I do think the transition should be more transitional, if that makes any sense. I would want to see more concrete transition. Right now, it's kind of just the sax moment ends, then we're doing the woodwind stuff. Right, I feel like we could do some stuff with front ensemble to transition into that rather than just abruptly stop and then get onto it. The balance in the brass section is so impressive. There's no one sticking out. Everybody's playing dynamically with each other. Everybody's listening around. I don't know if Freddie Martin's been around. Hey, if you're from Broken Arrow, I know you guys have Freddie, bro. I know Freddie. Freddie's the GOAT. And then final hit. I want to see them get above the props. I hate when props are in front of forms, especially during big moments. I know that they're probably just going to flutter in front of the props before a final note. That's what they always do. They did it in 21. I want to see something like that rather than them being behind the props. I know, show's probably not over at that point. They need to set more drill. But if that doesn't change, I'm going to be quite upset. Overall, I like the show. Do I like it more than last year? No. There was something about last year's show that just, it had so much aura. It was amazing. I love the woodwinds in last year's show. I feel like the woodwinds are doing less work this year. I don't know if that's just a me thing. But overall, this year's show is really well-rounded. And it should put up a pretty good fight later on in the season. For Bentonville, I loved how they used uniforms in this show. This might be the best way uniforms have ever been used. It's just the castle moment that went viral for the uniform use, except it's done better and more throughout the show. Some gripes I do have with this show is visual individual moments need more attention to detail. They need to clarify more counts on moments. Specifically, I was thinking when I wrote this note down in the opener, and also when you're marching, especially slides, backward slides, forward slides, it really exposes detail with the uniform having white in front, black at the back. Having that side here, it really does expose bad technique. If your horn angle is here instead of here, it really does expose that. For the sax quartet, I thought it was really balanced. I thought it was really well done. Again, for the ballad, I think there needs to be more clarification on counts. I feel like it is a little bit messy, so I want to see that kind of, get cleaned up. Also, the ballad, it could use a bit more work musically. I could tell a lot of their work in band camp and the rehearsals following up we're on the opener, and you could pretty easily tell the opener is a lot cleaner than the ballad is right now, both visually and musically. But I want to see some more work to iron that ballad out. And then musically, I want to see more technical moments, right? For example, if you watch Cedar Ridge's show, it has aspects that this show does not have. And then this show has aspects that that show doesn't have. This show feels more creative, both visually and I would say a little bit musically, but mostly visually. And then the Cedar Ridge's show, it just has so many more technical moments, especially musically, that this show just lacks. And during the technical moments in this show, the double tonguing moments for the brass section, it is a little bit choppy, it is a little bit dirty, it could get ironed out a little bit, so maybe they don't feel too comfortable with adding more, but I would want to see that at this level. But overall, good show from Bentonville. I really, really, really love the visuals for the show, and I mean, I could definitely see why they would have maybe won visual at this competition. They did tie Broken Arrow, and I'm not too surprised by that. For Blue Springs, I like the reuse of the props, but for the tarps, I'm not too big of a fan of tarps on the field for a show. I know some shows have made it work, specifically for Blue Springs 2018. They made it really work, so I'm kind of going into it with an open mind. I know they've done tarps after that, but 2018 really stands out to me as Blue Springs' best show probably ever. It's just tarps for me, they feel a little bit icky. They feel a little bit out of place for a show. In the opener, again, props are in front of the woodwind feature during the woodwinds. If you guys have seen these videos in the past, you know that's like my biggest pet peeve. I hate props being in front of forms, especially when it's like a form's time. Like, it's a woodwind feature. There should never be a prop in front of the woodwinds. You should be able to see the woodwinds. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, I don't like that. I do really like the creative stuff that they have when they all compress to a yard line. For example, they all compress to the 15-yard line in the opener. I really liked how they did that. You know, I'm going to comment on the similar things in the Tarpon Spring Show. They do almost identical stuff there. We talked about uniform use for Bentonville. I want to see them take advantage of their uniforms. They have capes. We've seen William Mason in the past have capes like this. Maybe not the same color as their uniform. You know, the capes are a little bit gray like their uniform. But I want to see them take advantage of that. They need to be using their capes in visual moments, because what else is the point of a cape? Right? The cape's not there to look badass. It does look cool, but the cape is there for visual moments. It needs to be used, and I just feel like it's not being utilized enough. The drill felt interesting, though. You know, on first watch, I was very surprised to see Bentonville beat them. On second watch, I'm less surprised, but I still would probably have Blue Springs a little bit ahead, maybe like 0.3, 0.35 ahead. That's just me. I feel like Blue Springs is cleaner. I feel like their drill is more demanding. And I wouldn't be surprised if, as they set drill for Ballad Closer, they're going to develop more into that show. But I do have high hopes for the show in the future, and I wouldn't panic too much about the third place placement here. Moving on to BOA Orlando. This is a pretty easy one to digest. Tarpon Springs dominated, as we all expected, right? We all expected Tarpon Springs to come out with a fire show. It's provably correct. Their show is amazing. It's so creative. Is it as like technically good as some of the previous shows? I don't think so. I think there's still some work to do, but no one does it like Tarpon. No one is as modern. Instead of being a marching band show, this is a production for them. And I think that is going to be the direction that bands start going in the future. They're going to start getting, modernized in a way that Tarpon is leading. When you look at the show, it is so Tarpon, right? We've seen Tarpon do shows similar to this. This show reminds me of their 2023 show. Lots of signature solo moments, lots of, modernized music, lots of unique and cool forms, and the guard is completely bought in. This is one of the best guards in the entire country, probably top 3, if not top 1 Maybe the Woodlands would have something to say about that. But either way, this guard is so dialed, and they are looking like a DCI guard in a high school body, right? That's just kind of how it looks. In this show, we've seen so many sets that are identical to previous Tarpon years. Maybe that's, intentional. Maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know. Maybe I'm just buying into some few things. But the closing set is identical to, if I recall correctly, 2022. I mean, there's just so many signature moments in this show. The drill for this show is ridiculously ambitious, right? You see the closer drill, especially on the woodwind side, is crazy stuff. I love the way the props are used. Not in front of any forms. Not in the way they're enhancing the performance rather than distracting from it. They do kind of have that uniform contrast on the back and the front, similar to the way Bentonville did it. Although Bentonville did do it better, Tarpon does kind of have that effect going on as well. Musically, I wasn't wowed, right? It wasn't like a 2023 where I was like, oh my gosh, they're here. It was more of like okay, this is what I was expecting. I really like the trombone small ensemble. I feel like that was kind of the unique part that I've seen. I feel like it was blended really, really nice with front ensemble. And I guess Black Hole Sun as your ballad is on brand with the Void show, but it's a little bit cheesy, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really want to be that guy to judge based on musical selections, as I will maybe do later on the video. But no other high school looks like this. This is not something to take for granted. If you're marching Tarpon, no one looks like you. You guys are doing it in a way that no one else is right now, and people are going to start jumping that way. They have to. For the Orlando event, we saw Fishers come in second place. I did think it was going to be very close between Fishers and Stoneman Douglas, and it was. Lambert, I did think would kind of mix in, maybe competing for them, but I did kind of think in the back of my head, the score was kind of inflated from a couple weeks ago, and we did kind of see that, unfortunately, play out here. I did think they would separate a lot from Lakota East, if I'm being honest with you guys. Timber Creek, they're always mixed in to that 5 to 7 range. So not too surprised to see them here. University, I did think would be more ahead than where they were. 10th place is a little bit low for them in the past, if I'm remembering correctly. But that's kind of what I've got to say on that. Moving on to Johnson City. This opinion could get me into a little bit of trouble. I don't see how Dobyns Bennett wins by 3 points here. Is it just me that's like, I just don't see it, right? Do I get that they won? Yeah, I completely get it. They were easily a cleaner show than Byrnes and Lafayette. They had a lot less inconsistencies. I would say my concerns with the Dobyns Bennett show is not dirtiness, because they were pretty clean throughout the entire run. I never looked at that show and said, oh, they need a rehearsal. There were moments like that with Byrnes, especially their ballad. Their ballad was not the cleanest, both musically and visually. But their show is just better designed. I'm sorry, I hate to be the one to say it. Dobyns Bennett's show, it's not for me. Let's go to a deep dive to see what I mean. For Dobyns Bennett, music selections wise, I'm gonna go into this. I don't really enjoy shows that do selections from DCI shows unless they're good. So this show has 3 moments with famous DCI music playing. This show does music from Crown Inferno, Phantom Regiment, 2008, and 2011. First of all, it's not the same arrangement, which is frustrating to me because I've listened to those shows so many times, so it's kind of like something's off. And 2, it needs to be done better. Obviously, you're not a drum corps group. It's going to be kind of hard to live up to that expectation, so maybe don't pick that music. So I'm frustrated by that already. Off first listen, I'm like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. I have 5 sets in the show that they stand still for 20 seconds or longer. Some of these, they stand still for 50 seconds. Some of them, they stand still for 30 seconds. But all of them are over 20 seconds. I'll play them right here. That right there is almost 35% of their show. So when I say I want more from them, it's coming out of a place of concern, right? They are very talented. If you're from Dobyns Bennett, or you're a Dobyns Bennett band parent, I am not insulting you. You guys are ultra talented. You should be expecting more from your show too. Ensemble balance was fine. In the opener, there was a trumpet blaring over the top in their first opener hit. And then at the end of the opener, there was a baritone blaring. So in music block, just make sure that people understand they ain't supposed to be blaring at that part. Fit into the sound. Drill at the end of the opener is sick. And this is what I'm saying. When they do drill, it's really good. It's really good. I love the drill throughout kind of the middle end to the end of the opener. It's really clean. And then the drill where they circle around the 50-yard line, I thought that was pretty cool. I'll play it on the screen right now. Maybe I'll have, I don't really know how I'm going to do it. I might do freeze frames, but I thought that was pretty cool. And again, I really, really, really am not trying to like hate this show. I came into the show wanting to like it. And I felt similar ways about Dobyns Bennett shows in the past. When I was performing, I competed against a Dobyns Bennett show that I felt very similarly about. And I lost to it. I was a member of a band that competed against Dobyns Bennett 4 times. We won 3 times, and when it mattered the most, the judges gave it to Dobyns Bennett. I felt like that was an injustice at the time. I felt like Dobyns Bennett did not march and play on the move as much as we did. I felt like they weren't as clean as us. I felt like their show was worse than us. And so maybe I am holding on to that into this year. Still from, 5 years ago that happened. Maybe I'm still holding on to that. But I really, really, really tried to like this show. And I've listened to it 3 times. I've watched it 3 times. And I feel the same way about it. I can't get on board. I'm not a fan. Moving on to Lafayette. I like the opening hit. The opening hit has some good balancing. For the robot sounds, I just don't like that kind of stuff in shows. I get that it fits the show theme. I get that it kind of needs to be there to convey the theme, so I'll give it a pass, but it does get a little bit tedious, and it hurts the rewatchability for me on this show, because I would love to listen to this show in a playlist, but, the robot voice, I want to be that guy, but, not the best stuff for that. A very cool moment that I saw was the woodwind playing off the brass after the opening hit. They're all the way across the field from each other. One is upfield, one is at the front hash. It is really impressive for them to sync up, not be listening back or forward, and just be looking at the hands for their parts. So good on them. That was very impressive to me, especially playing in a dome. Very hard to do. Speaking from experience, I've been part of parts like that in Lucas Oil, which is another dome, and it is so hard to stay locked on the drum major and not listen. So good on them. They did that very well. The prop on the 30-yard line that spins, I think it's on the 30 off the top of my head, but it spins while people are on it. I want to see that being utilized more. I did kind of think when watching the show, what if they did kind of like a treadmill effect where while it's moving, they take a step. That would fit with the show theme of sentience, because it's coming into its own, but it can't get there yet. Just kind of like an autistic spaz moment for me, thinking about that. But I do think it could be utilized a little bit better. They do a lot of fluttering into forms, rather than doing it so where the form kind of molds and then snaps into place. They flutter into that, which is fine, but I feel like technique-wise, I want to see them march forms more than they do right now. The ballad does need some work musically. You could tell for both Byrnes, I'm going to get to them, and Lafayette, the opener is a lot cleaner than the ballad is. The ballad that needs to get ironed out. The spacing on the first closer set was off, which is kind of ironic because they fluttered into it. So people got to learn their dots because there is no excuse to be off spacing wise when you flutter into a form. The beginning of the closer, you could tell they put a lot of work into it, but it still has some ways to go. And then it kind of deteriorates throughout the whole closer and just gets like a little bit dirtier, a little bit dirtier. That's a great baseline for Lafayette, though, to develop throughout the season. And they put on a great performance. So good on them. For Byrnes, first of all, I did not like that they had the Met on. I heard the Met before the show started. Can't be doing that. Musically, immediately picked up on Bentonville 2023 music. So there you go. The opener felt great. If we were just going based on the opener, Byrnes wins, right? Because their opener, musically and visually, really well balanced and clean. And it's on the move a lot of the time. So great stuff for Byrnes there. I did like the ripple effect out of the hit in the opener where everybody went here. All the lines did it on separate counts. I thought that was a pretty cool effect. I feel the same way about them doing music from Blue Devils 2023. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. For the ballad drill, you could tell that they've worked on the opener a lot more. So for the ballad and the closer, they're going to get more out of it once they put more into it. I did hear rumors that they hadn't set their closer drill until like a week or so ago. I hate to say it, but you could kind of tell, right? It wasn't as clean as the opener at all. The opener was super clean. It just needs more work. When they're marching on the move in the ballad, the volume does suffer a little bit, so I have to point that out. And I would want to see more steady crescendo at the end of the ballad. Right now, it just kind of feels like one volume and then until like the last 3 counts of the hold, and then they start putting into it. I want to see some more steadiness. Spacing wise, throughout the ballad and the closer, there needs to be some work. Again, this is some visual stuff, but marching technique and horn angles look great. Like, there's almost not a single mistake that I'm seeing. Great stuff there. And then they do the Mason music. So we're just doing 2023 music roulette here. Closer drill isn't finished yet, which makes sense. And then on the last note, I had to say it, there is a baritone that is absolutely blasting on that last note. Like, you could hear when they take a breath. Straight up, if you have the recording, go play it back. You could hear the breath. I love the starting point. Right now, these 2 shows, Lafayette and Byrnes, they need an ironing board, right? They just need the ironing board to clean them off, get all the nice little wrinkles out, the spacing issues, the balancing issues, a couple of forms in the ballad for Byrnes and Lafayette. And I feel like they're going to get that done. For Byrnes, you know, they might not have the chance to do that because Indy's coming up, but definitely they'll get to do that before states. And then Lafayette, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what they're going to be up to later on in the season. But that being said, all of that long segment, let's get on to BOA Waco. This event was so close throughout prelims and finals through number 1 and number 2. And in the end, Cedar Ridge gets it by .025. Close as the margin gets. I was kind of surprised that it was LD Bell competing with Cedar Ridge. I thought it was going to be Westlake. I thought Westlake would be able to put up a fight. And they did take visual in the end, but their GE scores let them down quite a bit. And they ended up falling into 4th. Great stuff from LD Bell, though. And Cedar Ridge gets it done. Again, I had mentioned in the past, Cedar Ridge has so many technical moments in this show. The brass feature is absolutely amazing at the start. Sound-wise, it's very, very high brass centered. I would want to see more. I would want to hear more bass. Overall, there was nothing too shocking about these scores. You know, Planto, E Senior. I did not think that they would be passing up Westwood and James E. Taylor and Alito. If I had done predictions, I probably would have had all 3 of those above them. So good on them for making top 6. Great stuff. And yeah, I'm not sure there's much to say about that. But yeah, that'll be it for me today. Long ass video. Thought I would change it up. Rankings will be out sometime either today or tomorrow. So if you're looking forward to that, good stuff. And then hopefully predictions for BOA Indy on Thursday, probably. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. That'll be it for me.